Thank you for your time and attention this morning. We are in a situation. We are being deceived. Now more than ever, our interactions are dependent on a world of screens. On one hand, there are tangible benefits as a result of accessibility. On the other, we collectively experience the unanticipated consequences of information, misinformation, and the ability to distinguish fact from opinion from total fiction. The recent GameStop market controversy proves that communities that exist on digital platforms are capable of a collective force that can actually disrupt established power structures. And with the continued innovations in digital currency, the internet is just beginning to deliver on its promise of autonomy. My current video and performance work is concerned with credibility in an era of curated online personas and content. My sculptural installation, Made It Special, exhibited at the Pollock Gallery in April 2021, manifests the precarious nature of this uncertainty by creating tension and balance between objects and video. Made It Special could have easily been an anthology show. Monitors hanging level on the wall, equidistant from one another, playing back the various video works I produced here at SMU, a dispassionate reciting of old jokes. There is an anthological component, but the qualifying exhibition was a chance to bring all the personal, professional, and political plot points together to tell a story through video and installation. The Makeshift Media Center embodies the artist, the Limping Arts program at SMU, and the current American culture and climate in 2021. Anxious, unsure, and barely holding itself together. On screen, Matthew Maker, a fallible character in a precarious situation, optimistically fumbles his way through a how to presentation. Off screen, videos loop on monitors, treacherously balanced among scaffolds, leaning haphazardly and suspended from the ceiling. You don't need to watch a loop entirely to understand each one's agenda, but there is an incentive to stick around. There is repetition, but not exact repetition. You ask yourself, have we seen this already? Is this room coming together or falling apart? Am I watching it or am I in it? Tensity, suspense, and apprehension are represented through steel, glass, and their uncomfortable proximity to one another. Throughout the space, structure and fragility hang by a thread. Alejandro Almanza Pareda is an artist that I happened to see a month before the installation. Their skillful use of equilibrium and construction material impacted me so that when moving the scaffold around the Pollock, a serendipitous moment became the inspiration. Resting the scaffold on its side at an angle, the placement that unlocked the form. I could see at once how to add illusion and anxiety. The installation and our interaction with it are plotted from the entrance to the gallery. The whole of the installation is obscured, recessed into the space. But from the door, just above the eye line, the viewer is presented with spheres. The only two circular objects act as lures, like an anglerfish. On the left, an electric purple bulb points from over the top of monitor 1. And just to the right, a disco ball twinkles, dangling from a nylon strap that seems to be counterbalanced by something just around the corner. Bright lights and shiny things. Approaching either sphere presents the first illusion, the illusion of choice. Wherever your eye might lead you, you may be in danger just for being curious. Ultimately, all paths meet at the center. Is this a trap, a cage? The gallery is a corral. You are already within the piece when you realize that you are caught. You're not coming out the other side. Don't panic, though. If you bump or nudge something, the whole thing comes down around you. The scaffold that makes up the structural majority of Made It Special holds an anthological significance. It is the same scaffold that I used as a pop-up projector stand in Marfa Total Recall, my installation for the 2019 group exhibition Chill Naughty at the Cedars Union. The scaffold was fully assembled with a projector mounted on top. Within the framework, a hammock was strung, resembling an overpass campsite. I had arrived in Dallas. This was my bunk, and I was settling in for the next 2 years. Since that time, due to renovations and a pandemic, the bunk became a cell, a pressurized capsule. In Made It Special, the cell has exploded. The scaffold is in disarray, frozen at the moment just after combustion. There is tangible suspense. Where will these pieces fall if the scene unfreezes? All the physical elements come together around the scaffold to perpetuate disquiet. Anxiety is amplified by the manipulation of mirrors, shape, light, and shadow to create confusion of depth and volume in the space. Shapes are duplicated by reflection. Dutch angles skew horizons. Windows are mistaken for mirrors and vice versa. One moment, you're looking at the ground, and the next, you see the ceiling. Throughout the installation, construction rated devices like ratchets, chains, and bungees keep us questioning the integrity of what we see. There is no credibility from the space or the structure. There is no reliable place to find one's footing. Lost, we look for fixed points. The televisions offer familiar anchors. They're everywhere in our lives, sharing information. Surely we will find the truth if we look to the light. My favorite anecdote about Jesus is that he was basically the Beatles of playing Messiah. The Old Testament prophesied that a son of God would be born on earth. After a while, a lot of folks were going around claiming that they were the son of God and performing miracles, the ancient equivalent to snake oil salesmen. When Jesus hits the scene, the Messiah craze is at an all-time high, but he is a showstopper. Jesus climbs the charts because he has the best act and a solid PR team behind him. I'm not interested in the supernatural debate. I am interested in the power of performance, the cult of personality, and the dangers of building our culture on such a tenuous foundation as appearances. Matthew Maker could never be mistaken for a leader of men. In the full length video pieces, he is a how to host parody, the antithesis of expertise, and the embodiment of well intentioned misinformation. Within Made It Special, Maker is cut down to his gaffes. The first monitor we encounter shows Maker at a loss for words, impotent. The videos loop, failed take after failed take. Maker is flustered and distracted. He mumbles and stumbles over words that he never quite gets out. Something is missing from Maker's on screen presentation information. But his cadence is such that we keep watching. He might just get it this time. To boot, he is visibly obstructed as well, cut down the center by a bright orange ratchet strap. The strap placement underscores his lack of importance and bolsters the notion that what we are watching is so unstable that it has to be held together. Monitor 1 serves as the introduction to our host. Monitor 2 is the project, the labor, the making, a looping video of tools and making shot from an overhead perspective. A scaffold leg hovers just centimeters over the center of the screen. The labor screen is at our feet as we approach it. We look down onto the monitor the way we look down on process, labor, and the worker. Production isn't glamorous. It's the necessary effort that goes into creating the convenience and luxury that the upper class demands. The labor screen is placed appropriately, matching its reverence in America now, at the bottom of concern, with the ever present threat of destruction hanging over them. By showcasing the tools and actions of labor, I draw attention to the reality of production, namely, that controlling production is a way to control reality, prodding us to question what we make, why we make it, how we make it, and for whom it's made. That complex knot of ideas manifests as a tangled mass of cables and wires that crawl out from beneath monitor 2 and lead the eye to monitor 3. Monitor 3 rests on an upended easel, but something is wrong. The screen seems to be malfunctioning. Only the SMPTE color bars can be seen. The bars are an intentional choice. They act as a color palette, and the screen's placement on the easel reinforces that analogy. The yellow, pink, blue, and green on the screen can be found splashed throughout the installation. Blue spray paint on the scaffolding, a yellow extension cord, a pink piece of duct tape. Beyond aesthetics, the cut signal color bars speak to potential and failure. The television almost works. It works enough to show you that it is not working. There could be something on the screen. There could be substantial information. The piece that puts this whole puzzle together, that sets the clock in motion, but we just can't get the damn thing to work. A circumstance that feels uniquely American, endowed with potential, armed with technology, and not working. So we pivot. We look up and away from the broken, follow the web of wires, and find our way to monitor 4, the art within the art. All paths lead to monitor 4. Suspended from the ceiling, above the catastrophe, above the viewer, on screen, trash puppets dance on piles of psychedelically colored trash and feces. The mood is celebratory. They've made it to the top of a pile of shit. Hooray, they cheer. The choices within Monitor 4 are tongue in cheek. My most cynical observations on value, credibility, and their complicated place in the business of art. Initially, I thought SMU is going to be the place to grow my practice away from crafting and repurposed materials. During the first semester at SMU, I made a series of life-sized plaster body forms. While a few limbs managed to survive, those forms went into the dumpster. It wasn't the first work that I had ever thrown away, but I had bought those supplies, the plaster and the canvas, and I had uprooted myself and moved. There was an investment now that I was putting in the garbage. I thought that investing material would change the perception of the work, but it did not. I doubled down on sourcing material after Chilnati. I could elevate trash, an unprecious resource, into art. I could salvage the overlooked and start a salient conversation on value, class, and who gets to be in the room. Issues that are intrinsically tied to my concerns on credibility. So is that art totally trash, or is that trash totally art? That's the joke, the rub. The Alphabet Gang is crafted, painted, and dressed. Heartfelt attention goes into each one. Built in dancing, people light up to see them. We don't need to be much to be loved. It doesn't hurt that the notoriously stratified gallery class stands in step with me, the artist, in support of showing shit as art. That is literal trash dancing on literal shit. And it is hoisted prominently above our heads. We have to look up at it. At face value, that might seem crass, and while I love to zing the bourgeoisie, there is merit in the work. I trust a gallery that can face its hubris and support ideas that may clash with donors. And after the chuckles are out, patrons reconsider how we as individuals decide what is truly valuable. My thoughts are louder than reality. The biggest thoughts and greatest expectations, while not always in focus, are ever present and cannot be contained within the confines of the screen. To physically represent my ever present imagination, a video plays through a large throw projector. The projection loop is thrown on the empty wall left of monitor 4. The projector is oriented on the ground, inconspicuously in a corner, and spotlights cut the projection's luminous potency. You might not notice it as a projection until you step into the light and see your silhouette become part of the image. The scale of the projection shrinks the viewer, and they are washed in color. It's another disruption of reality, a way for me to immerse you, the viewer. You lingered too long and found yourself drawn into a screen and into my brain. You are in the loop now, a part of the gang and embedded within the installation. The content of the projection represents the mind, creative thoughts. The camera slowly pans over my creations, my friends, the alphabet gang. They're motionless, staring, waiting for their purpose. There is a pressure that comes with claiming artist as a vocation, the expectation that every work has a purpose, a value to culture. The alphabet gang fills my studio walls. They watch me, dutifully patient, reminding me of all the things they're not doing, wondering when they will be brought to life, disciples of a flea market messiah. Was it coincidence or divine intervention when I found a pressed tin replica of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper leaning on a dumpster outside of my apartment? It's a meta moment. Another irony, this holy icon and the epitome of a master's mural skill is reproduced, bought, owned, and thrown away, only to be resurrected days later and given reverence and life in my library of oddities. In the context of the video, the relief is about authenticity and friendship. In the story of the Last Supper, one of the people at the table is not the ally they pretend to be. Even Jesus doesn't know who to trust. The appearance of Da Vinci's The Last Supper in the installation's projected video calls attention to perspective and geometry, both within the painting and within the gallery itself. Da Vinci uses a one-point perspective toward the horizon to create the illusion of depth. In Made It Special, I am disrupting the horizon, rearranging it, while Da Vinci's lines neatly lead you to the center of the work. The lines of Made It Special lead you to the center with some stops along the way. Cords, chains, and rails that have no structural purpose serve as marks in space, taking you back through the installation, tethering the objects together as they slowly expand. On one level, the presence of The Last Supper as a kitsch tin relief is another joke, a satire on authenticity. Made in America, a souvenir from a carbon copy cut and paste culture. But my Last Supper isn't garbage. Discarded? Yes. Forgotten? Only by some. My tin is a masterpiece 3 times removed from the place of reverence and value. Its journey is its value. The context of how I found this piece is precisely what made it special. My Last Supper, from Da Vinci to the dumpster. The story of this picture is our story. To take a singular iconic phenomenon and copyright it, reduce it to the commodifiable essentials, produce it en masse, and then sell this truncated reality in bulk, the invisible among the many. American culture is as authentic as my tin. Still, that is only half of the parable. Chosen from the shelf, revered for a time, then cast away. But now, with its slumped posture and crumpled edges, this tin picture has been molded by time. It has endured something, and in doing so, earned value as an object of reflection. We have to consider that something is spurned as a piece of garbage could carry on it something mythic. Everyone relies on a complex personal algorithm to choose what they believe is authentic, credible, and true. But we need to keep testing our formulas and challenging our choices to find a balance between forces. Made It Special models those forces with glass and steel, an installation built to be structurally, aesthetically, and empirically questionable. Implementing construction materials reminds us that we are continuously building our reality. The videos within the installation are embellished questions of credibility around art making, the artist befuddled and unsuccessful, the oft neglected labor of art and our relation to it, and the collective agreements we make when distinguishing fine art from kitsch trash. In totality, the construct and the content of Made It Special aim to empower us, to explore the unknown, to embrace our fallibility, to trust in ourselves, to make value judgments, and that class systems, hierarchies, and popularity are contrived. Be authentic without performing authenticity. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I look forward to your comments and questions.